Hi, I'm with Paul Gregory. He's from the Financial Markets Authority. He's the Director of Communications and Investor Capability. And we're here today to talk about a report that the FMA puts out every year, and it's all about my favourite topic, KiwiSaver. Paul, what's it all about? What's the report on?
Well, we're required to do a report on KiwiSaver, which shows what's been happening and the work that we've been doing during the year. And so that has a whole bunch of statistics in it about how many members it has, how much money they've got, what types of funds they're in, where they've been shifting to, how they've been coming into KiwiSaver, how they've been leaving KiwiSaver. And we have a talk about a couple of the main themes of work that we've been doing during the year.
Great. So the report's designed primarily for New Zealanders to look at and understand how KiwiSaver's been going. What's the type of information that you've picked up over the 10 years, particularly this year, that is trending a little differently?
Sure. Well, what we're seeing is that the number of people who are coming into KiwiSaver sort of flattened out. There's still quite a few of them every year, but it's flattened out. The number of people who are transferring from one provider to another is continuing to be quite a high number. So that's where you can sort of see where the providers are going for market share and where a lot of their focus is on getting other people's members. You can see that more money is coming out of KiwiSaver to fund financial hardship, which is concerning, to fund first home withdrawals, which of course is part of the purpose of KiwiSaver, and for permanent immigration. That's not quite so much, but it's still a growing amount.
In thinking about these transfers, and it's something that we think a bit about the Commission as well, it's important that people, investors engage in their provider. Is there a fear that there might be a little bit of over-promotion and I know you're the regulator, but making sure that, what do people need to do to make sure they're making the right decision for their own circumstances rather than perhaps say convenience or chasing a return? What are the risks that you see there?
Sure. Well, transferring by itself is not necessarily a bad thing because you can take a look at what you've got, you can take a look at what's on offer somewhere else, and it might be that their service is different, it might be that you can pay the same fees and get a better return, you might be able to get a similar return for fewer fees. So that would be a good reason to do it. But what we're particularly keep an eye on is when someone is being encouraged to transfer on the basis of an incentive. Like, for example, yes, you can have a lower mortgage rate, but you need to bring your KiwiSaver with you when you come. So that's a case of it's not clear to us that somebody is being encouraged to make a good decision about their KiwiSaver, and that is a problem.
They're quite two different areas of and I guess financial services, and it's so important, what we say anyway, that it needs to be decoupled. It's an investment decision first and foremost, and any other benefits need to be weighed up, but shouldn't be a main factor for change.
Yes.
I guess the other thing is, I keep banging on about this as well, is the good old member tax credit. Now, we had over 580,000 New Zealanders last year. What's that number that missed out totally? That meant also they weren't contributing anything at all. What's the take on it this year?
Well, we see contributions as we do a lot of other things through the lens, I guess, of member engagement. That's something that's important for all financial services providers and KiwiSaver providers, and in particular default KiwiSaver providers, to keep focused on, because if you think about default providers, they have a thing called an instrument of appointment, which is sort of the rules and the terms of being a default provider, because they get new people allocated to them from inland revenue that they don't have to work for.
Right.
So it's commercially valuable for them. Being a default provider is good for their reputation as well. It comes with a responsibility to engage with them, and engaging with them means helping them to make an informed decision, which typically means moving out of the default product into something else.
Right.
And it's not clear to us, and this is very strongly emphasised in the report, that most providers are making enough effort to do that when that's what they're required to do, and that's what would be good conduct for them to do.
And we've got KiwiSaver now going 10 years, so I know there's been a lot of change, but communication is probably one of the things that needs to be, kind of connecting members and providers, having some responsibility to get the right messages out at the right time for their members. What are some of the other things, do you believe, that through the report that KiwiSaver members or providers need to be taking some action on?
Sure. Well, as we've said, making an effort at all to communicate is the first thing. Yep. And then if what you've tried to do, send them an email or whatever it is, and we understand that there's some challenges with that. But if you've tried to do something and it hasn't worked, then try something else, because it's good for your members to be engaged. If you successfully engage with them and they shift to a fund like, I don't know, they move from their default into a growth fund or something, it has a commercial advantage for you. And so you can try things like even making a phone call rather than email tends to work well, or the research that we've done shows that it works better. And then think about how it's being received. Think about the type of people it is that your members are. So it may be that using some sort of other digital means to get in touch with them, or at the time you're trying to get in touch with them when their KiwiSaver annual statement comes out, or they've reached a certain age or something like that. Think about how it's being received and not just sending something out because it's the most efficient way to do it at a time that fits into your communications window.
But it's up to the investor as well. What are the messages that you'd like to give investors around their KiwiSaver as well to be better connected? And if they're not happy, what should they be doing?
Sure, definitely. Even if you've not heard from your provider, get involved in a decision that you have made, which affects you for your future, affects your family's future. Probably the easiest thing to do, and we know that providers tell us that when they survey their customers, getting their annual statement is what they remember. If they remember anything, they remember that. So have a look at your statement. The next one that you see actually will have your fees in dollars on it. So that should be a bit of a prompt for you to think, well, wow, that seems like a lot of money. I wonder what I'm getting in return for that. And if there's a prompt for curiosity, and you maybe don't like what you see, or you just want to ask some questions, please do go to your provider, ask them some questions, because as far as we're concerned, that is good for your decision making, and providers should be able to give you a reasonable explanation as to why the fees that you're paying are reasonable for the returns that you're getting, for the service that you're getting, for what you're getting in return for it, and that it should match up to the risk that you're taking. So whatever it takes, whether it's caring about cluster munitions, that sort of thing, whatever it is that prompts you to care about what you're invested in, that's good by us. And if you don't like what you hear, and if you don't like the attitude that your provider seems to have to giving you information, then we think it's perfectly reasonable to go somewhere else, or at least to look into going somewhere else to see what else you might be able to get.
Shop around, and probably not a bad place to start would be our KiwiSaver Fund Finder, which kind of breaks down everything there, that you can have a good snapshot and comparative way of seeing how the providers are working, not just by return, but and services and fees as well. So well worth a look. Thanks a lot for that, Paul. I think it feels like a bit like my school report, could do better. As always, but let's hope after the next 10 years that the insights that we've touched on today get and see substantial improvement, because we are talking about New Zealanders' overall financial well-being, and we look forward to hearing how the report goes. If they want to actually get this report, where will they find it?
So come along to the website, fma.govt.nz, and it's all there. And we've also got a bunch of KiwiSaver information in that's been arranged in a reasonably easy way for you to check out, how much money's in it and how many members and that sort of thing.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for coming along and giving us the word on that, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, David.